Hi friends, I'm Jana Eubank, back with another Stashbusting layout, scrapbooking these little baby kitty photos of my cat Phoebe today. Now I'm flipping through the My Mind's Eye MEOW collection. I have this in my stash. This collection is from 2017 and I love it. I love the color scheme, especially because my cat is white and gray and black with a little pink nose, so it matches perfectly. Now I initially thought that I would mostly use this collection, but I did have this random paper by American Crafts just floating around in my stash with the cute little kitty faces on it, and I definitely wanted to add that in there as well. I ended up using that as my background paper, and I did mat it on some black cardstock because it is one of those text weight papers that you buy at Joann, and I've had it for several years. It was starting to get ruined, and so I thought today is the day that I'm going to use it up. Now, as I mentioned before, I thought that I would mostly use that My Mind's Eye MEOW collection, but I end up using just the embellishments mostly. I do pull in a couple scraps of paper here and there, but when I pulled that collection from my stash, I also grabbed several scraps of paper and random papers from my scrap bin and also just from my stash, and I'm going to combine those all together, and I mostly end up using papers other than My Mind's Eye, and I love how that looks. So I wanted to mention that because if you have a random set of embellishments floating around in your stash, go to your scrap bin or go to those random leftover sheets from collections and see if you can put together your own color scheme of papers matching those embellishments. That's what I did today, and I really loved how it turned out. Now the first thing I'm doing is I'm starting off by matting these photos. I matted the photo of my cat on some pink paper by Park Lane. I will bring in another pink paper from that same set of, from that same paper pad later, but I'm also using some papers by Simple Stories. This gray polka dot paper is from the Heart collection from several years ago, and then you can see off to the right of my screen I have a black dot paper. It's kind of a confetti dot from a Say Cheese collection, an older Say Cheese collection. So I'm just kind of mashing these all up together, and I'm loving the way they look, and they actually go really well with this MEOW embellishment, so I'm glad that I'm getting them used up. Now, most of the time I have a general design idea in the back of my mind, but today I didn't. So I'm just kind of placing the photos down in a way that I think I want them to go on a paper later, and then I'm going to start building behind them. I'm not sure why I placed them offset like I did on that gray paper. It just felt right to me, but I honestly don't even know what I'm going to do from here. So I decided to pull out the die cuts and just flip through them and see if anything spoke to me and if it would help me to guide my design decisions going forward from here. I did select that black cat, and I'm going to use him next to the title that I'm going to place below the photos. And when I did that, I knew that I needed a strip or something for him to stand on. So I decided to grab this pink and white striped paper, again from that same Park Lane paper pad where the pink mat came from. And I just placed a wide strip of that going underneath that gray dot layer. So here I have that little black kitty again. And I know the cat in the photo isn't black, but my very first cat is black. His name is Ozzy, and he was at home waiting for this new little kitty to come home. So I thought that he would be appropriate to go next to the title, and my title will be Bringing Phoebe Home. So I think he works. Now from there I wasn't sure what to do, so I decided, okay, I do know my title. It's going to be Bringing Phoebe Home, so let's work on that. So I pulled out these two alphabet die sets, and I'm going to work on building those. Now the larger set that you see me working with here is from KS Craft. You can find these dies on AliExpress or on Amazon, and I've linked them below. I know there's a lot of negative feelings about, supplies at AliExpress, and I absolutely agree with that. However, I've been watching this KS Craft group, and they do their own designs, and so I feel comfortable purchasing from them. Now, the word Phoebe is created with a die set by Sizzix, and that is the spring type die set. I really love that die set, and it's what I've recently purchased because it has an embossed look to it. And so I had a scrap of like some shimmery silver paper in my stash. It might be from Cartabella, I'm not sure, but it looked great with these embossed letter dies. So I went ahead and got the title ready, and now I am pulling back out those die cuts to see what I might use. Now, I wanted to keep this layout kind of this soft pinks and grays and blacks, almost like a little baby scrapbook page for my little baby kitten, right? Really soft and sweet. But the My Mind's Eye die cuts had this pop of lime green. At this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to add that in because it does give it kind of a modern feel and takes it away from that little sweet baby kitty feel, right? So I am just kind of pushing these die cuts around, deciding, okay, what exactly am I going to use, and am I going to add in this green? If I do add in the green, I'm going to make it part of my title, which will be the word bringing. I'm bringing Phoebe home. And if I don't use it, then I will decide to use a different color for that word. So this is where I'm just playing with the pieces and deciding whether or not I want to add in that lime green. Now, one thing I'm discovering as I go back into my stash is that I really struggle when a collection doesn't include flowers. I love flowers and I love fussy cutting them and adding them all over my pages. I think they are fantastic fillers. And so this collection didn't have very many flowers, but thankfully it did have some. And I think because the flowers had that lime green in it, that is when I decided, okay, I'm okay to bring that lime green in because I really just do love flowers on all of my pages. And so here is where I start to solidify what I'm going to use as far as die cuts go, and then that will start guiding my design decisions. Now, as I mentioned, I was kind of holding off, waiting to see if I wanted to add that lime green in. And now that I've made the decision to bring it in, I'm going to use these letter stickers from my stash to finish out my title. So these are some, I think they're called Type Keys by October Afternoon. So I'm just auditioning there with this American Crafts Alignment Guide. And I like how it looks, so I'm going to go ahead and add some thin foam tape to the back of those, and then I will use this little ruler or alignment guide to press them onto the layout. I like that it's clear so I can see how it's going to look before I actually add them to my page, especially when you're adding something on top of a photo. Because of the glossy aspect of a photo, once you stick something down on it, it's really hard to peel it back up. And so it's nice to have that alignment guide to see what it's going to look like first. So now I'm back to the paper layers. I've done a lot of the embellishing, and now I know I need to keep adding some more papers. So I find this lime green scallop in the My Mind's Eye collection, and I thought, okay, I'm going to fussy cut one of those out and add that along the bottom just to bring in more of that lime green. And then here I'm deciding, you saw me place a little strip of the black. If I want to space out that lime green scallop with another pattern above it, whether it was solid black or like here I'm showing, I'm trying out some of that white polka dot paper. Here I'm trying out some of that black polka dot paper. And I decide to go ahead and just add that scallop right below the pink and white paper. And then if I do add in some more of those dots, I'm going to add it below the scallop. So that's kind of what I was testing out there. So now I'm bringing back in the polka dot papers again. I'm like, all right, I like the dots. I want to add them in. I just don't know whether I want to go with this confetti black dot from the Say Cheese collection or this white dot from the Oh My Heart collection. Both of those are from Simple Stories. I really love the soft and sweet feel of the brighter whites on this page, so I do decide to go with the black or the white, this polka dot that is white with black dots. I'm talking about too many polka dots here. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that with my pencil, and I will get that layered up behind my design. Now, my idea for this was to have one large layer spanning across the back of what I have built so far. So I placed it, and then I'm going to tear a little piece of it off along the bottom. After I tear it, I really hate how that torn edge looks. It just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look good. And so I go ahead and snip it off, but I am going to add a full piece all along the bottom of this page. So from here, I'm deciding, okay, do I want to vary the dots again? Do I want to bring in just the white dot one or the black dot? The black dot one felt too heavy to me, so I do continue with the white with black dots, and I'll go ahead and add that now. Oh my gosh, we just talked about all kinds of black and white dots. I feel like that was the most confusing part of this video, but hopefully you were able to follow along. Okay, so now I really love how this layout is looking, and I want to come back in and add some more little touches. So I'm pulling out a paper from the My Mind's Eye collection that has these large icons all over it. They're the perfect size for fussy cutting, and there weren't a lot of flowers left in my die cut pack, so I decided to fussy cut some of those out from this paper and to sprinkle them around the page. Mostly right now I'm just working on distributing the colors and making sure there's a nice balance around my 3 clusters. You can see that I have 2 clusters on either side of the title, and then my 3rd cluster will be at the top of the page where it says I love cats, and that's where I'm going to build that out so that I have those 3 visual clusters. Now for a minute I thought I might add in these little flower stems, but it doesn't quite work, so I pull those off and we'll work on fussy cutting out some more single flowers. Now my idea at this point was to add the journaling in that top right corner of the gray paper, and so I'm trying to leave enough space for that to happen. But when I went to write the story for this memory of bringing our little kitty home, I just knew that that wasn't going to be enough space. So I do end up going to my computer and I'm going to type this journaling into a circle shape, and then I will use some circle dies to add it above that photo of my cat. Now my cat, we found her on a local listing, and you know, I'm new to the cat world, and you know, this lady was like, hey, we don't know who we're going to sell her to. And so it was this really weird and odd experience of them asking me a million questions, and then they finally decided that I was the one for her. And so I'm like, oh gosh, they're really concerned about who this cat goes to. And so that was great. But when we went to pick her up, they were the sketchiest people ever. like I was like, oh my gosh, who are these people? And so it makes me sad that there's people out there that, breed animals or whatever they're doing to make money. I don't like to support that. But honestly, when I saw this little kitten, I was just like, oh my gosh, we got to get her out of here. We met these people in a parking lot which I didn't know was a parking lot when we went to get her. But obviously they didn't want me to see where she really came from. And I was with my daughter that day, and I just remember looking at her like, we just got to get this cat out of this situation. And honestly, if they had brought more kittens, I probably would have taken them all, just because I didn't want that cat to be in that situation anymore. So at first when we brought her home, we were really worried. Like, we weren't sure what we were getting. We didn't know if she would be healthy. We didn't know if she would be okay. She had, some bathroom issues, and her meow was really raspy. I'm like, is she sick? I didn't know. Anyway, she's ended up to be the greatest cat in the world, and I'm so glad we got her. And thankfully, I haven't seen these people post any more kittens since we've got her, so I hope that they aren't doing it anymore, because, yeah, they were pretty sketchy people. Anyway, you can see here that I'm just finishing out the page with some more fussy cut florals and fussy cut hearts. I kept wondering if I would bring in those little puffy circles that I had from the collection, but the green in those puffy circles just wasn't quite the right green, so I decided to leave them off. And so that will complete the page. Anyway, I hope this page has inspired you to grab some of your random leftover embellishments along with your random leftover papers and scraps and see what you can come up with. Make a dent in your stash and create a page today. All right, everyone, have a happy spring, and we'll see you next week.